Welcome back to Renegade Remission, where I share stories and strategies to help you heal regardless of your prognosis. One of the most confusing experiences during illness is realizing that your body no longer responds to life the way it used to. Maybe you used to be able to handle a busy day, a difficult conversation, a poor night of sleep, a long appointment, a hard workout, or a different meal without thinking much about it. Then, somewhere along the way, those same things began to feel enormous. This can be frightening because it seems like your world is getting smaller. You may be thinking, why can't I handle this anymore? Why does everything take so much out of me? The answer is not that you are weak. In many cases, it's simply that your body's capacity has changed. During chronic or serious illness, the body often operates under a heavier internal load. Inflammation, disrupted sleep, pain, immune activation, chronic fatigue, stress hormones, treatment effects, digestive strain, emotional distress, and mitochondrial dysfunction all demand resources at the same time. When the baseline load is high like this, it takes far less to push the body beyond what it can comfortably handle. And when that happens, the first step is not to try to push harder, but to understand what is actually draining capacity and begin lowering the internal and external load so that you can properly function. One of the most useful ways to understand reduced capacity is through the idea of a stress budget. Every day, your body has to process physical, emotional, metabolic, immune, and environmental demands. In a healthy state, there is usually enough reserve to handle variation. You can sleep poorly one night, have a stressful day, eat something unusual, or push yourself a little harder and still return to baseline. But during illness, that reserve shrinks. The body is already spending energy on inflammation, immune activity, pain signaling, tissue repair, detoxification, blood sugar regulation, medication metabolism and detoxification, or simply trying to maintain basic function. When so much of the budget is already being used internally, there is less left over for ordinary life. This is why a small stressor can create a large response. Researchers often describe this cumulative burden using the concept of allostatic load. Allostasis is the body's ability to adapt to stress and maintain stability through change. Allostatic load is what happens when the body has had to adapt for too long, too often, or under too much pressure. Over time, the systems that are supposed to help you respond, the nervous system, immune system, endocrine system, and metabolic system, can become dysregulated. In everyday language, that just means the body has been carrying too much for too long and ordinary demands start to feel less ordinary. The second thing to understand is that inflammation uses energy and changes sensitivity. This piece helps explain why even small tasks can suddenly feel exhausting. Inflammation is an active, biological process that requires energy and changes how the body behaves. When inflammatory signaling is elevated, the body shifts into a protective state. Energy is diverted towards immune activity, and this is why illness makes everything feel harder. If your immune system is activated, your body may interpret additional demands as more costly than they normally would be. But energy is not the only thing that changes. The way your brain and nervous system process the world changes too. Because the nervous system is constantly scanning for safety and threat, during illness, that threat detection system often becomes more sensitive. If the body has experienced pain, frightening symptoms, treatment trauma, sudden changes, or a sense of loss of control, the brain learns to pay closer attention. But when this vigilance becomes chronic, the body begins reacting strongly to inputs that might not have been alarming before. So noises feel louder, lights feel brighter, symptoms feel more threatening, social interaction feels more draining, any new sensation in the body can trigger anxiety, a routine appointment feels like an ordeal. This is not quote-unquote all in your head. It's a sign that the nervous system is doing its job too intensely. In chronic pain research, a related concept is central sensitization, where the nervous system becomes more responsive to input. The same basic principle explains why some people become more sensitive to pain, exertion, sensory stimulation, or stress after prolonged illness. The volume knob has been turned up, and the ordinary input is processed as being more intense. When the nervous system is in that state, capacity decreases because the body is spending more energy monitoring and responding to external and internal inputs. The fourth thing is that mitochondria may not be producing energy efficiently. This is the system that actually creates the energy you're trying to spend. Capacity is shaped by our mitochondrial function. When mitochondria are under strain, which is what happens in cases of inflammation, oxidative stress, poor sleep, nutrient depletion, infection, treatment side effects, or chronic stress, energy production becomes less efficient. This matters because everything you do, subconsciously and consciously, requires energy. Digestion, thinking, emotional regulation, detoxification, immune function, movement, hormone production, tissue repair. When energy production is impaired, the body has to make choices. It chooses to preserve resources for essential functions and leaves less energy available for exertion. This is why illness-related fatigue is so different from normal tiredness. It's not just the feeling of needing rest, it's the experience of having not enough cellular energy to meet the demands of the day. The fifth thing to understand is that hormones and blood sugar affect our ability to tolerate simple daily tasks. And this explains why our tolerance can vary so dramatically from one day to the next. When cortisol rhythms are disrupted, sleep is poor, or blood sugar is unstable, as it is so often during chronic illness, the body has less resilience. A small challenge may feel manageable when you are rested and nourished, but overwhelming when you are underfed, lacking proper sleep, inflamed, or running on stress hormones. This is why the same person can tolerate a food, supplement, appointment, or conversation on one day and not tolerate it the next. The sixth and final thing to understand is that even healthy inputs can still be too much. This is one of the biggest mistakes people make when they're trying to heal. A new supplement, a detox practice, a fasting protocol, an exercise routine, a high-fiber diet, a sauna session, or deep emotional work are all beneficial in the right context. But that does not mean the body is always ready for them at full intensity. This is not because those tools are bad, but because the body can only adapt to so much at once. So the question is not simply, is this good for healing? It's actually, can my body handle this right now at this dose in this season with everything else it is already carrying? If you listened to our recent episode on supplements, this is the same principle I talked about. Something can be helpful in theory and still be too much for your body right now. If your body cannot handle what it used to handle, then the goal is to understand why your capacity is lower and begin rebuilding from there. This requires a different approach than the one that many high-achieving people are used to, more proving that you can keep up with your old life. It's about learning to work with your body you have right now so that it can become more stable and improve. It doesn't mean you'll be here for forever, and in fact, I'm sure you won't be. Reduced capacity is not the same as permanent incapacity. It's simply a signal that your system is under strain, and when we reduce that strain, then capacity can begin to improve. So what can you actually do with all of this information? If your body cannot handle what it used to handle, that is information. It means the total load is too high for the resources you have available right now. So instead of asking, why am I so weak, or why can't I do this anymore, begin asking, what is my body already spending energy on, and where can I reduce that load? Do a capacity audit. Look at the categories that drain you. Physical activity, appointments, emotional conversations, food changes, people, supplements, screen time, noise, decision-making, household tasks, social interaction. Don't judge any of them. Just notice which ones cost you the most. Many people discover that their biggest drain is not one single event, but the accumulation of small demands with no recovery space between them. This is the part that often surprises people. The body is rarely reacting to just one thing. It's reacting to the total load, the allostatic load. The second step is to build recovery into the day before you crash. Many people rest only after they've exceeded their limit, but a body with reduced capacity needs more proactive recovery. This might mean resting before and after appointments, leaving space between errands, planning a quiet evening after having social time, or taking 5 minutes to rest after a meal. The goal is to prevent your system from repeatedly crossing the threshold where symptoms flare. The third step is to simplify your inputs. If you are trying new foods, supplements, therapies, movement routines, and emotional healing practices all at once, your body may not be able to tell you what is helping and what is too much. So choose one area to adjust at a time. And during this time, keep your rest and sleep as steady as possible. This gives your body predictability, and predictability offers nervous system support. The fourth step is to lower the intensity of supportive things. So, for example, if movement worsens your symptoms, the answer may not be no movement forever. It may just simply be smaller movements, shorter durations, more rest, or a different type of movement. If the supplements you're taking feel too strong, then the answer may be fewer supplements, lower doses, or slower introduction with practitioner guidance. If emotional work leaves you feeling raw and overwhelmed, then the answer may be to do some gentle mood regulation rather than diving into the deepest material immediately. With all of these things, it's not about whether it's good or bad in absolute terms. It's about whether the intensity of them matches your current capacity. The fifth step is to stabilize the basics that determine your resilience. Blood sugar, hydration, sleep rhythm, light exposure, gentle movement, and regular meals may sound simple, but they shape how much buffer the body has. Supporting these basics is not glamorous, but it creates the conditions for more advanced healing work to be tolerated later. Finally, give yourself permission to measure your progress differently. When capacity is low, progress may look like recovering faster after an appointment, tolerating a slightly wider range of foods, having fewer crashes after social interaction, needing less time to settle after stress, or noticing that a task that used to wipe you out completely now only tires you. These are meaningful signs of improvement, and they show that the body's margin and capacity is increasing. When your body can no longer handle what it used to handle, it can feel like you're losing parts of your life one by one. But often what's really happening is your body is asking for a different strategy in this season of life. It's asking for less force, less intensity, and more consistency. Spend less time on comparison to who you used to be, and spend more time respecting what your system is carrying now. Your current capacity is not going to be your permanent capacity. Your body just needs more support right now. That's exactly what we'll continue exploring in future episodes, because healing is rarely about finding one missing piece. It's about understanding how all of the pieces fit together, and with each episode, we're building that picture one step at a time. If today's episode resonated with you, I invite you to join my email community at therenegadenutritionist.com. That's where I share additional resources, research, healing stories, and insights that don't always make it into the podcast. Most importantly, it's a place to be reminded that you're not navigating this journey alone. You can join for free at therenegadenutritionist.com. Thank you for listening today, and as always, go be renegades.